All right, let's get right into it. Getting a home, whether you're buying, renting, or refinancing, is a massive step. I mean, it's one of the biggest you'll ever take. But how can you be sure the process is actually fair? Well, today we're going to build your personal Fairness Toolkit. We're going to break down the key laws that are designed to protect you.
So let me ask you this. What really guarantees you a fair shot at a home? Is it your income? Your credit score? Sure, those things are part of it, of course. But there's a whole legal system set up to make sure that only your financial situation is being looked at, and nothing else.
I mean, let's be real, the dream of having your own place is something pretty much everyone shares. But for a long time, and sometimes even today, unfair discrimination can just slam the door in your face. And that's exactly why these laws exist, to tear down those barriers and give everyone a fair shot. Okay, so the very first tool we're putting in our toolkit has to do with the actual physical act of getting a roof over your head. This is all about protecting your basic right to a place. And this is the big one, the Fair Housing Act. It's a huge piece of civil rights law, and its goal is super simple: to stop discrimination in pretty much any housing activity you can think of. You can almost think of it as the main rulebook for fairness in the entire real estate world. So who exactly does it protect? Well, the law is really specific. It lists these 7 categories. So it doesn't matter if you have kids, if you have a disability, or what your religious beliefs are. It is flat out illegal for someone to discriminate against you for any of these reasons when you're trying to find a home. And the act was designed to stop some really specific harmful practices. Things like redlining, where banks would literally draw red lines on a map and refuse to give loans inside those lines. Or steering, where an agent might push you toward a certain neighborhood based on your race. And even blockbusting, which is this awful tactic of creating panic selling by stoking racial fears. These things aren't just wrong. They are explicitly illegal. Now, this is important to know. While the Act covers most housing, it doesn't cover absolutely everything. There are a few key exceptions. For instance, if someone is renting out a unit in a small building they also live in, or a private club has housing just for its members, the Act might not apply. Knowing the exceptions is just as important as knowing the rule itself. All right, let's grab the next tool for our kit. You found a place, awesome. But now you need the money to pay for it. And this is where we shift our focus from the place to the payment. We're talking about your right to fair credit. So say hello to ECOA, that's the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. If the Fair Housing Act covers the real estate part, ECOA covers pretty much any kind of credit transaction you can imagine. Its whole purpose is to make sure that when you apply for a loan, you're judged on your creditworthiness, and that's it. Period. Now, look closely here, because ECOA's protected groups overlap a bit with the Fair Housing Act, but it also adds some really important new ones. It protects you based on your marital status, your age, as long as you're old enough to sign a contract, and critically, whether or not you receive public assistance income. And this is a point that gets confusing for a lot of people, but ECOA is crystal clear on it. A lender can't turn you down for a loan just because your income comes from, say, child support or Social Security. That's illegal. What they can do, though, is deny you if the amount of that income just isn't enough to handle the loan payments. See the difference? It's about the numbers, not where the numbers come from. ECOA also gets that discrimination isn't always some blatant, in-your-face thing. Overt discrimination is easy to spot. A lender saying, we don't give mortgages to single mothers. But then there's disparate treatment, which is more subtle. Like maybe they ask for extra paperwork from you, but not from another applicant. And the sneakiest one is disparate impact. This is where a policy seems totally fair on the surface, like a bank saying they won't make any loans under, say, $50,000. But that neutral rule might end up unfairly harming a protected group who's more likely to apply for those smaller loans. So that brings up a really big question, right? If some discrimination is so subtle, or maybe even unintentional, how in the world do we prove it's even happening? How do we catch it and hold people accountable? Well, that brings us to the final tool in our toolkit, and honestly, it might be the most powerful one. This one isn't about forbidding an action, it's all about creating transparency. It's about following the money trail and using hard data as proof. This is the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act, or HMDA for short. You can think of it as the ultimate fact checker for the lending industry. It forces lenders to collect and report a ton of data on every single mortgage application they get, who's applying, where the property is, and what happened with the application. So why collect all this info? Well, there are 2 main reasons. First, to make sure lenders are actually meeting the credit needs of the communities where they do business. And second, to use all that data to spot suspicious patterns like redlining that you'd probably never see otherwise. It basically shines a giant spotlight on lending practices. And you gotta know, this data doesn't just get filed away in some dusty cabinet. Nope. It's analyzed by the heavy hitters of financial regulation. We're talking the CFPB, the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, all of them. These are the watchdogs using this very data to enforce fair lending laws. That is accountability in action.
Whew, okay, we have covered a lot. So let's pull all three of our tools out, lay them on the table, and see how this complete Fairness Toolkit works together to protect you.
And here it is, all laid out. It's actually a pretty elegant system when you see it together. The Fair Housing Act protects your access to the property itself. ECOA protects your access to the money you need. And HMDA provides the proof that holds the whole system accountable. They all work together, like three legs of a stool, to make sure the system is fair. And really, that's what this all boils down to. This isn't just some boring legal stuff. Understanding these laws is power. It gives you the knowledge you need to navigate the process with confidence and, just as importantly, to spot when something feels off. At the end of the day, your rights are written into federal law. They are there to protect you, but they can only work if you know they exist in the first place. The first step, the most important step, is just knowing them. So now that you have the toolkit, the only question left is, are you ready to use it?